Many years ago in ancient China, the entryway of misery was torn open, causing surges of demon race into the human world. A rich merchant decides to hire powerful demon hunter to protect his family from being killed, not at all like different hunter who's just putting on an act. A hired demon hunter, what name's identity is Jade, starts detecting a presence drawing nearer from an external perspective. She tosses her weapon towards the entryway, just to figure out that it was a monk, who came here to kill the monster also. The man presents himself as Tong, and attempts to dazzle the young girl by adulation. Yet all the same, Jade is just worried about where the genuine demon spirit is. Unexpectedly, the chimes start to ring, and the floor is blown open. While the demon hunter attempt to repress the foe by utilizing their magic, they endeavor to catch the monster, yet the men are sucked into the opening immediately, causing the pioneer to shout in dread, while various bones are let out towards individuals. The hunters take off quickly as the demon pursues them from underground, and spitting out its monstrous arm towards Tong while pulling him under. Yet again the demon hunter rush external to structure and takes a stab at going after the monster, yet is immediately overwhelmed by its monstrous arm, making them take off like defeatists. The whole ground starts to sink down, causing tremors wherever in the city as all individuals get as far away as possible. The beast causes monster breaks on the floor, and tumbling down every one of the structures close by, making enormous harm nearby. The demon hunter show up onto a scaffold, and the pioneer attempts to send off a last assault utilizing his enchantment, while the monster animal methodologies them from inside the water. The demon rapidly jump starts out from the waterway, and uncovering that Tong is as yet alive, as it charges towards the hunters and gobbles up the forerunner in a solitary chomp. The monster crash onto the ground and crushes into the structures close by, while attempting to eat up every one individual that is taking off. Tong figures out how to cling to the animal and attempts frantically to control the demon, yet the adversary is excessively strong, as it wrecks the man and throws him onto the ground. Simultaneously, Jade has show up inside the area too, and advises her companion to snare the animal from the back, while she goes for its eyes. The monster thunders irately at individuals and swallows the people like a giant Pac-Man. Tong attempts to meddle, however winds up getting hit by the young lady's bolt that grounds right on his behind, while he falls onto the ground close by the regular citizen. The old woman hits him on the face for looking like a brown nose, while Tong takes out the bolt in desolation. The female hunter can send off their assaults and figure out how to stir things up around town utilizing poison bolts, that land squarely in the monster's eye. The giant demon shouts in agony and tumbles down towards the ground, as it at long last bites the dust from the snare. The woman goes onto the animal and attempts to scale into its back, yet Tong bounces towards her and drives her over the monster, while saving her from the demon's poisonous blood. The fluids fly onto the dealer and starts consuming him immediately, while Tong makes do to dampen the fall by falling hard on the human pads, and obtains slaps subsequently. Once more Jade goes onto the animal, as she pulls the spine from its back, and taking the huge bone as her prize close to her companion, Tong goes towards the demon and serenades a mysterious spell, prior to transforming the animal into dust what's more, leaving only bones behind. The following day, the lady successfully returns to her house that is situated far away from the urban communities. Also, she starts taking out the quintessence of the spine into her machine. Incidentally, she has been attempting to find the rebirth of her perfect partner for close to 1,000 years, and she's missing just a single additional fixing to finish her enchantment. Jade rapidly uncovers that she used to be a goddess from paradise, who was given the errand by her sovereign to look after the tree of eternality, and to acquire the organic products when it's ready. Very soon, the lady sees her perfect partner, who ends up being Tong, and the two rapidly embrace each other while sharing an enthusiastic kiss. What they don't understand is that the natural products on the tree have been falling this entire time. Also, when they at last saw their error, it was at that point past the point of no return. Every one of the divine beings and goddesses accumulate around the region, and the sovereign is irate at the sweethearts for ruining her function. The deities were meant to consume the fruits that only grows every 3,000 years, and that the goddess chooses to punish them for their recklessness. She makes Tong hydrate of amnesia and ousts him into the human world, as the man gradually tumbles from paradise and resurrects into an outsider. Be that as it may, the lady will not disregard her perfect partner as she hops from heavens without losing her recollections, yet is reviled to never known who her sweetheart is in the following life. Through innumerable resurrections, the lady is compelled to be distant from everyone else, as she can never be aware the presence of her perfect partner. In any event, when they are foes in fight who attempted to kill one another, after every one of the long periods of torment, she presently at last gets an opportunity of tracking down her genuine romance. Sometime thereafter, while going through the timberland alone, Tong rapidly notices a social event of individuals venturing to every part of the alternate way, where various lovely ladies are riding inside their carriages. He rapidly perceives the outsiders as demon concealing inside their human form, and the ladies likewise understand that the monk is incredibly strong, with a brilliant quality encompassing his body. A wonderful young girl in green dress notification the man's appearance and quickly recalls her previous experience with the priest. It just so happens, Tong has battled a strong mythical serpent before, and figured out how to seal the fiendish animal under the Buddha sculpture, yet one of its kids was capable break previously transforming into stone. The man sees this, and on second thought of killing the snake, he chooses to let the animal live by removing the demon spirits from the area, and giving it opportunity simultaneously. The woman is stunned to see her guardian angel after such countless years, as she understands that she owes him her life. The demon ultimately show up into an enormous royal residence, where they meet their father the mythical Dragon King, and he requests to know whether their arrangement was effective. It just so happens, they were attempting to allure the head by utilizing their magnificence, so that they can ultimately control him and subjugate mankind. Be that as it may, when they attempted to harm the king, a strong energy repulses the young girls away. Later detecting their demonic qualities, the mythical monster demon understands that they need to change their arrangement, as they need a human young lady to entice the head and feed him the toxic substance, so they have some control over his brain. The demon all change into their actual structure, uncovering themselves to be tremendous animals, as they intend to gobble up the blameless girls, so they can keep up with their everlasting status. The following day, while Tong's lords are attempting to shave off his hair like he owes them cash, the monk breaks their weapons into pieces. As the man's head resembles a porcupine, Tong questions why he's reviled to never completely turn into a monk, and one of his master Kong feels that he probably annoyed the sky in his past life to experience such wretchedness. He attempts to get the man to appeal to the divine beings, yet every one of the sculptures betray the primary person, showing their misery towards the man, and making him considerably more befuddled. He goes to implore Guan Yin, the goddess of kindness, and the divinity is the main one to answer back. Let the man know that should kill a one-looked-at demon to figure out reality about his past, before the man can comprehend the goddess prescience. The top of the cloister surges inside and sees that every one of the sculptures are convoluted. He requests to know the individual liable for despoiling his sanctuary, and rapidly finds out that it was Tong, making every one of the priests take hold of the man and beat him up as a result. It just so happens, the monk were paid by a rich woman who's here to petition God for a son, and she's incensed at individuals for deferring her custom, and orders her flunkies to rebuff the ace. The warriors rush towards Kong and crushes the elderly person right on the head, causing a brilliant light to remove from his skull. Unexpectedly, the mists start to accumulate and shoots a strong lightning towards the priest, causing him to change into a giant monster that pinnacles over everybody. The animal thunders angrily at individuals and kicks the officers away like cloth dolls. The monster then takes hold of the head of Monk and throws him through the rooftop like a bug. Tong is flabbergasted that his lord has transformed into a demon. However, the elderly person makes sense of that he's really the rebirth of the fundamental person's sibling from heaven. He came into the human world to assist his companion as he with Canning never again watched the man's affliction any longer. The animal takes hold of the monk's head and shows him the recollections of his past, uncovering that he used to have a perfect partner who was rebuffed by the divine beings. Tong understands that he was reviled to not have the foggiest idea about the presence of his sweetheart's rebirth. Yet again, while his lord turns around the human form once again, the elderly person reminds Tong that he should kill the one-eyed demon, very much like what the goddess Leniency has told him, with the goal that he might figure out the genuine personality of his perfect partner. What they don't understand is that the mythical dragon demon has detected the presence of Tong. Later his master has changed into a giant animal. The evil master perceives the monk immediately, as he faults the principal character for catching him inside the Buddha sculpture for quite some time. He needs to get revenge on the man, as he understands that Tong isn't at full power subsequent to being exiled from heaven, and orders his girls to catch the man's darling for his malicious arrangement. Notwithstanding, the snake demon is plainly tangled about her dad's requests, as she experiences issues hurting her guardian angel. At times later, a popular hero known as the irate mustache shows up into a little town, where she intends to snatch something to eat in the restaurant, which incidentally turns out to be run by the monk. It before long turns out to be exceptionally certain that the primary person is a faker, as he doesn't have the foggiest idea how to make any of the food that is on the menu. This makes the woman burst out of resentment as she changes into the mass, yet at the same their contentions are immediately interfered. When tacky fluids drop onto the young girl's face, they look onto the roof in shock as they see a monster animal gazing at them through the rooftop, and the monster takes hold of one of the warriors and tears her into pieces. Individuals take off from the structure quickly while the Cyclops thunders irately at the people. What's more, it starts unleashing devastation in the entire town. Simultaneously, Jade has shown up to guarantee the animal's eye and tells her companion to trap the monster from underneath. While the demon is in the middle of killing the warriors, the animal takes hold of the warriors and eats up them like bites. However, fortunately the hunter makes do to disable the foe for a brief time, allowing individuals an opportunity to assault. The irate mustache charge in and starts utilizing her swords to daze the monster, yet all at once Jade bounces in to hinder the assault immediately, as she wants the foe's eye. While diverted by the lady's excellence, the hero is caught by the Cyclops, as it gets ready to gobble up her into its enormous mouth. Fortunately, individuals can save her simply time. As she moves kicked away by the tremendous monster, Tong surges in immediately to save the woman, and figures out how to get her before the fall. Be that as it may, are both immediately disturbed by one another's appearance. In the meantime, Jade surges in to go after the monster head on. Yet Tong figures out how to save her equitable in time as he gets caught by the giant monster. The man utilizes the porcupine hair to break himself free as he moves through a way out of sight by the animal. While arriving on the sharp shakes and forfeiting his family gems in the cycle, individuals take off from the area promptly while the Cyclops pursues them intently behind, driving them to bounce into a trench and stow away from their foe. In the wake of seeing the monk's hair, Jade find out about utilizing the man like a bolt, and they start pulling the primary person back on the ropes as they send him away like an irate bird. Tong flies towards the beast with mind-blowing speed and penetrating directly through the animal's body, killing the adversary immediately as it falls onto the ground. Jade goes toward the Cyclops and takes out the enormous eye on the monster's head, while the other watches in disdain, and the woman conveys the organ back to her home. They follow the hunter as she gets back to her hideaway, and Jade offers individuals to remain for the evening, as they helped her kill the monster. The woman goes to her machine immediately and places in the last fixing, causing the eye to deliver every one of her recollections into the room and uncover her sweetheart's actual appearance. Tong strolls in simultaneously and sees every one of the projections, understanding that the woman before him is the individual that he's been searching for this entire time. The two glance at one another affectionately as they at last hug, subsequent to being isolated by the divine beings for 1,000 years. Notwithstanding, they are immediately hindered by the mythical dragon demon, who's here close by his daughters to look for retribution on the monk. The adversary assaults them immediately, driving Tong to drive his sweetheart away as he attempts to battle off the demon's magic. The mustache warrior sees this and attempts to help, as she starts battling against the daughters too, and figures out how to repulse the adversaries as they are equitably coordinated. The woman utilizes her blade like a skateboard and attempts to pursue the feline demon, while the other adversary dispatches various networks towards the contender. She figures out how to single out the monster as they fly towards the structure, and cornering the foe onto a scaffold. The warrior suspends every one of her blades up high and dispatches them towards the monster, while the demon attempts to avoid the assaults, however in the end gets hit and falls onto the ground. In the meantime, Tong keeps on fighting the mythical dragon lord, as Jade's companion charges towards the adversary, yet she's immediately crushed as she gets punched across the room. The monk attempts to go after the adversary without help from anyone else, however is countered by the enemy's magic and gets tossed towards the wall and crashes onto the ground. Jade sees this and fights back right away, but on the other hand is crushed by the mythical dragon demon in a solitary strike. The evil lord goes onto the extension and sees that one of his little daughter has been killed by the mustache warrior, while the lady fires every one of her edges towards the adversary. Notwithstanding, the demon rapidly stops the assault in mid-air and diverts every one of the blades back towards the girl, penetrating through her stomach various times, which kills her in the interaction. The spider monster takes hold of Tong and hauls him outside the structure, while the mythical dragon the demon steps on the man's chest, and wounds him utilizing the hooks. Jade promptly surges outside and asks the adversary to save the man's life, and commitments to do anything consequently. The dragon lord advises her little daughter to give the woman a poisonous bug to swallow, which causes her to comply with the demon requests, or the parasite will begin eating her from within. The demon tells her that she has a place with him presently, prior to chuckling derangedly while leaving close by his daughters, and permitting the monk to experience on the ground. Jade is compelled to go into the royal residence as she moves before the king, and rapidly tempts the man as he makes her one of his courtesans. Simultaneously, Tong is experiencing his injuries while his master attempts to reduce his aggravation, however, has little impact as the man is now biting the dust. Shockingly, the snake demon shows up inside sanctuary when the elderly person is gone, and chooses to take out her profound energy that was intended for her father. She takes care of her quintessence into the man's mouth and informs him concerning the area of his darling, with the goal that he can prevent her dad from harming any longer individuals. Very soon, the man starts hearing the voice of the goddess of kindness and he goes in front of her sculpture to pay attention to her insight. The divinity lets him know that he needs to recapture his powers to overcome the mythical monster. What's more, the best way to do that is to get the breath of a friend or family member, which confounds the monk considerably more. On the opposite side, the Lord is getting ready to do some sleep time practices with his new mistress, while the mythical dragon lord watches everything from behind his enchanted mirror. The woman advises the head to shut his eyes, and starts letting out a brain-controlling gadget up high. Notwithstanding, before she poisons the king, the girl adjusts her perspective and sells out the mythical dragon king by enlightening the sovereign everything concerning the scheme. This significantly enrages the demon as he starts pounding the drums, awakening the bug inside the lady and causing her colossal aggravation as it gobbles up her body. the spider demon surges inside the royal residence to kill the king herself, as their characters were exposed by Jade, yet various troopers rapidly hurry into the structure and encompasses the monster. The demon goes after individuals right away and throws them into one another, in the long run overcoming everybody as she wrecks them by utilizing her claws. Very soon, the whole armed force starts charging towards the structure as they attempt to save their king, driving the Dragon Lord to leave his drums and fly onto the combat zone. The man crashes onto the ground and thumps the fighter up high, as he summons all his powers towards the people, and transforming the whole armed force into dust. In the interim, the spider demon takes hold of the king, and not long before she's ready to kill the man, Tong shows up close by his master to save the king. The monster turns the consideration towards the monk, while Tong calls his weapon and strikes the demon onto the walls. The adversary fights back by shooting her networks at the man. However, Tong can divert the assault, as he tosses everything back, and cutting the animal into 1,000,000 pieces by utilizing his sword. The winged dragon demon surges inside the structure, just to see that Tong's lord has changed yet again into the giant animal, yet the elderly person is immediately thumped away by the foe's gigantic power. Tong takes the risk to run towards Jade, and attempts to take the breath of his darling with the goal that he can recapture his power. Yet this neglects to work regardless of how frequently he kisses her. With no other decision, he chooses to get away from close by the girl and show up towards the combat zone, just to see that his master is being overwhelmed by the demon. Tong brings all his energy and attempts to meddle, yet get moved back promptly by the foe's huge power. The demon takes hold of the monster and tosses him towards the ground, as he effectively tears off the man's tail. The woman charges in to help too, yet is obviously no counterpart for her foe as she gets thumped towards the support points, which wound up mortally injuring her. Yet again Tong's master attempts to go after the demon, yet is immediately crushed by the mythical dragon king, who strikes him away like a cloth doll, and kills him thus. Nonetheless, the demon rapidly understands that the elderly person was really ready to harm him, which makes him drain out abundantly. He rapidly runs towards his daughter for her profound energy to recuperate his injuries, as it were to figure out it was given to his adversary as of now, making him shout out of frustration. On the opposite side, Tong takes hold of his sweetheart as she gradually kicks the bucket in his arms, and the woman lets him know that she'll find him in her next life regardless. The two offer their last kiss before the Jade ultimately dies, making him cry in trouble. As a brilliant emanation encompasses him and returns every one of his powers, he at last comprehends that what he wanted was any breath, yet the last breath of the one that he cherished. The mythical Dragon Lord starts changing into his actual structure as he turns into a giant winged serpent. The snake demon sees this and attempts frantically to take off, yet rapidly turns out to be gobbled up by her father, who consumes her leftover life force. Out of nowhere, an enormous measures of energy collides with the fundamental person, as he changes into the brilliant champion and conjuring huge measures of emanation overhead. The mythical dragon flies into the air and encompasses the monk, yet Tong starts cloning himself as he dispatches various champions onto the foe's body to drive the demon away. He then, at that point, orders every one of his clones to consolidate, as they sidestep the flares of the rival, in the end transforming himself into a monstrous brilliant golden dragon that thunders irately at the foe. Tong charges towards the giant monster and figures out how to take hold of the animal's neck, as he tosses the foe with huge power and makes the demon crash onto the ground. Nonetheless, the battle isn't finished at this point, as the red mythical dragon dispatches in for a counter-assault, furthermore, chomps onto the principal character's body. The demon crushes the brilliant mythical golden dragon onto the ground and cuts the animal into pieces, making it shout in torment. However, Tong is rapidly ready to recover, as he starts to yet again change. This time, the fundamental person structures into a giant champion as every one of the clones intertwine into a giant body that is prepared to take on its foe. The red demon charges towards the giant contender and the two leaps out of sight, yet Tong is ready to crush the adversary onto the ground. The brilliant golden warrior energizes all his energy and punches the animal just inside its mouth, managing a deadly blow towards the foe as he reassembles himself by and by. The principal character lands on the ground and turns around into his human form. After at last overcoming the mythical dragon and avenging his companions, he runs towards Jade right away, yet rapidly sees that her body is transforming into dust as she vanishes directly before him. The goddess of kindness at last shows herself towards the man and lets him know that he would be able once more return to heaven. However, Tong rejects, understanding that he's reviled to never see his sweetheart once more. The divinity feels compassion towards the man's misfortune, and changes the soul of Jade into a bird, so that he'll continuously be along with his perfect partner. Once more the man thanks the goddess for her consideration, and starts his excursion, as he looks for to safeguard all people from underhanded close by the soul of his darling. The end. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel and like it to motivate me to bring you more stories like this.